Do you believe in the power of a protected spirit? Or do you believe that tattoos can bring forth an ancient power that has been forgotten? The story of a tattoo enthusiast, Aika, leaves much to the imagination of those who pursue beauty of the skin. Before the story begins, leave a like and subscribe for more stories to keep you awake at night. Now, the story of Aika's new tattoo. Aika had always been a tattoo enthusiast. Each design she chose was a reflection of her journey, her passions, and her unique personality. Her skin was a canvas that told the story of her life in vibrant ink. She was meticulous about her choices, spending hours scrolling through social media, looking for the perfect designs that resonated with her soul. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and cast long shadows across her room, Aika stumbled upon it to design that instantly captivated her. It was a cute depiction of a cat dressed in elaborate Egyptian costumes. The cat's eyes seemed to hold a mysterious, ancient wisdom, and the intricate details of its attire hinted at something more profound. It was a rendition of Bast, the Egyptian goddess known for her protective and nurturing nature. Without a second thought, Aika saved the design and made an appointment with her tattoo artist for the following day. She could hardly contain her excitement as she envisioned the new addition to her collection. The next day, after a long day at work, Aika headed straight to the tattoo parlor. The familiar buzz of the needle and the smell of antiseptic brought a sense of comfort. She winced slightly as the needle pricked her skin, but the pain was a small price to pay for the beautiful artwork that was taking shape on her arm. Hours later, with the fresh tattoo wrapped and protected, Aika made her way home. The neighborhood was dimly lit, the fluorescent lights flickering occasionally, casting eerie shadows on the concrete walls. The air was cool, and the usual sounds of the neighborhood, children playing, distant chatter, and the hum of traffic were absent, creating an unsettling silence. As she walked, Aika felt a strange sensation as if someone, or something, was watching her. She shook her head, attributing it to a tired mind playing tricks on her. But then, out of the corner of her eye, she noticed shadows darting around the pillars and walls, moving too quickly to be normal. She quickened her pace, her heart pounding in her chest. By the time she reached her apartment, she was drenched in sweat, her breath coming in short, rapid gusts. She locked the door behind her and leaned against it, trying to calm her racing heart. Over the next few weeks, Aika went for touch-ups and coloring sessions to complete her Bast tattoo. With each session, the tattoo became more vivid, the colors popping and the details more defined. And with each session, the strange occurrences around her house intensified. At first, it was just fleeting shadows, barely visible in her peripheral vision. But gradually, the shadows began to take on more sinister, ghostly forms. Dark, nebulous shapes with indistinct features would appear in the corners of her room, lingering just long enough to send a chill down her spine. Aika tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was stress from work, or the late nights she spent getting the tattoo done. But the more she tried to dismiss it, the more frequent and vivid the sightings became. She started seeing these ghostly figures in mirrors, reflected in windows, and even in her dreams. Strangely, she also noticed that the neighborhood cats, usually aloof and indifferent, began to take an unusual interest in her. The strays that roamed the void deck and the nearby alleys started following her, their eyes watching her with an intensity that made her uneasy. They seemed to be guarding her, forming a protective circle. Whenever the shadows appeared, one hot and humid night, Aika opened the windows and door facing the corridors of the apartment, leaving the metal rails locked to let the cool night air in. Aika sat down on her armchair, dimly lit by a single lamp. There, she saw one of the ghostly figures standing by the window. I was facing the corridors. Its face was clearer now, with hollow eyes and a mouth twisted in a silent scream. Her breath caught in her throat, and she felt a wave of cold fear wash over her. Out of nowhere, a group of cats appeared below her windows and behind the door of her home. They hissed and arched their backs, their fur standing on end, their eyes glowing in the darkness. The ghostly figure recoiled, fading into the shadows as if repelled by the cat's presence. Aika's mind raced. The cat seems like they were protecting her. But why? And from what? She looked down at her tattoo. The image of Bast staring back at her, with its enigmatic eyes and a shimmering glow. Could the tattoo be the reason behind these strange events? As the days passed, the sightings continued, but the cats were always there, standing guard. Aika found some comfort in their presence, but the fear and uncertainty gnawed her. When the tattoo was finally complete, she admired the finished work, but a part of her couldn't shake the feeling that it had brought something otherworldly into her life. Determined to escape the unsettling atmosphere, Aika planned a trip to Thailand. She hoped the change of scenery would help her clear her mind and put the bizarre experiences behind her. But even in Thailand, the strays continued to show an unusual interest in her, and the ghostly visions grew stronger. One evening, as she walked through a bustling market, she saw a shadowy figure among the stalls. The market was crowded, filled with the sounds of vendors and customers, but the figure stood out, its hollow eyes fixed on her. She turned to leave, but a group of stray cats appeared, weaving through the crowd to stand between her and the figure. The figure vanished, leaving Aika shaken and confused. She returned to her hotel room, her mind racing with questions. Was it the tattoo, or was it all just a series of strange coincidences? She stared at her reflection in the mirror, the image of us that was on her, almost seeming to wink back at her. Feeling the increasing sense of unease, Aika went to the temple, but she frequents during her trip to Thailand. Inside, she prayed earnestly for protection and for all of the strange sightings to end. A cheerful old lady offered her some tea, seeing as she was nervous, and listened to her story. After translating it to the master, Aika listens intently as the master explains the significance of the tattoo in her arm. He further explains that the strange behaviors of the cats were nothing to worry about, seemingly read in her mind as her questions were answered without her questioning. Before walking out of the temple, the old lady reassures her that everything will be all right. The master had told her about a presence around the temple and knew what was happening. Aika thanked her and left for the hotel, surprised but without questioning the seemingly intuitive acknowledgement of her tattoo's presence being felt. When Aika returned home from her trip to Thailand, she noticed the neighborhood cats waiting for her, their eyes reflecting the street lights. She smiled, feeling a sense of reassurance. The ghostly sightings still occurred. The cats were always there to protect her. Aika never fully understood the supernatural connection between her tattoos and the protective cats, but she embraced it, knowing that the spirit of Bast is watching over her. As she lay in bed that night, she felt a deep sense of peace, her fears replaced by a newfound belief in the ancient power of her tattoo.